me something, Uncle Money?
Welcome to another episode of Practice Prosperity. We have attorney Charles Ford here. He has a unique background. Not only has spent time in government, he's worked with the state. He's also doing his own thing now that we're going to delve in. I think it's a practice area that a lot of students could potentially aspire to be in. So welcome to our episode today.
Well, it's glad to be here. Glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation as well. I really appreciate it, Randy.
No problem. And I think people are going to realize, you are like a true pillar of the community and something that you kind of maybe have to do to practice in your area. But before we get into that, can you please describe your firm and the populations that you serve?
Well, basically, just this past Sunday, I just passed 35 years as a practicing attorney, and pretty excited about that. Especially, I didn't really leave high school to be an attorney. And now that I have, 35 years, and I've spent time in the service community. So my practice is almost like a service. I mean, I do things to help people. I'm a general practice attorney. I really have done, you name the case, I've done it. I've done 7 murder cases. I've done 50 divorces, adoption, child custody, those kinds of things. And so I'm pretty comfortable with pretty much all the areas of law. I've even done a bankruptcy for a pretty well-known person. And so I'm pretty adept. But right now, after 35 years of doing that, going to court, doing trials, taking client calls, at all hours of the night, and really being a counselor at law, because some people have to be, talked down off the ledge. And so we have to understand how to do that as well. But I first started with sports and entertainment law. I was an NBA agent for about 10 years, and then until I got hired by the Detroit Pistons, where I worked for about 15 years. So I'm on the other side when you work for them. And then my first entertainer was a guy in our neighborhood. And I always like to talk about this guy a little bit. I won't give names because I haven't got permission to use their names on television, but he was a Big Ten football player at Michigan State University and was recruited by 3 professional teams. So he was very, very good in high school, great high school player, great college player, but he played the saxophone. And he turned down the opportunity to play in the NFL to pursue music. And now about 10 to 12 CDs or later and a permanent residency in St. Louis at a particular night spot, he's doing well. And I always talk to him about, why did you choose that? He says, I just saw the longevity. And so he's still doing that today. So I was pursuing being a entertainment and sports attorney. However, when I was an NBA agent, it was hard to get clients. Really couldn't get clients because when the NBA went to only 2 rounds of draft, and the first round gets automatic contracts, the second round they had to go to the different tryouts and summer camps and things. The bigger companies were able to afford to do that for individuals, give them a car, transportation, put them up in hotels and things, because I wasn't going to get a first tier. First tier is a person with automatic contract. So you're looking at people who were undrafted or drafted in the second round, and you had to put out money to see if they could get drafted. So it kind of put us smaller businesses in a pretty awkward position when it came to it. So I kind of moved into more general practice of law. And so that's what I did for a number of years, learned how to do divorces, how to do child custody. Criminal became a really good, very interesting area. And I should have known it was going to be interesting to me because I was a runner-up to the Raymond Burr Award in law school. I got the second best exam score, and the person who gets the best criminal law score gets the Raymond Burr Award. But I was the next highest person, so I always say I'm the runner-up to that. So criminal law became a very, very interesting to me. So I kind of stayed with that, did a lot of high profile cases, a lot of big cases. And then I had a couple high profile divorce cases, people with a couple $1 million worth of assets, then, and that becomes quite a venture because I want this and I don't want to give up this and those types of things. And so general practice is something I was pretty good at. I serviced my clients, I thought, pretty well. And everybody goes, well, how do you measure that? And I measure that by the fact that I got repeat clients and repeat calls and people saying that they were referred by somebody I handled their case before. So that's what I was doing. But then I got away from sports and entertainment, especially after I left the Pistons. And that was about 10, 12 years ago. And now I see being in Atlanta, where there's kind of a mecca of entertainment, a mecca of more excitement and things. And I've even done a music video myself that's got over 2 million views. And I said, wow, this entertainment thing is really hot here in Atlanta. So I always thought about that. And then the NIL came in. So it kind of gave us for college first. And it kind of gave us solo practitioners or smaller firms an opportunity. You might know a friend that has a son or a daughter that's in college that is playing and may be good enough to maybe get some money to go to school. So the pool got bigger for us. And so people with a little experience and a little savvy could possibly get back into business. And so I was always thinking about that. But then here in Georgia, and I didn't realize this because I was wondering how LeBron James's son was making $7 million before he even stepped into USC. I was like, wow, how do you do that? Well, Georgia passed a law back in October to give high school students an opportunity to make money. When I say make money is to go out and get endorsers and things of that nature. And so now the pool got even bigger. So it gave a person like me an opportunity because I had a fraternity friend of mine said, hey, I got a nephew who's in 8th grade and he's 6'6". Well, that's close to home. And so now no other agent probably knows they probably know about him, but someone like me, I got an in. I know his uncle. And then I have another lady that, I'm in the stepping community, her son, I knew about her son before I knew that he was her son. He was a great football player, 10th grader. I was involved with a person who he's a friend of mine who has a son that was in the kind of the private school area. And he told me about this kid that was just awesome. And then next thing you know, come to find out, I know his mother. So you see how the pool got bigger. And it made it a lot easier for smaller companies and solo practitioners to really get back involved with the sports business. So I pursued getting my agency license. And I think the last time we talked, I was waiting for it. And I just want you to know, I can announce today that I have been totally licensed by the state of Georgia to be an athletic agent.
Good.
And that gives you some comfort about knowing that you can go out and you've been certified and you've been licensed. They've looked at your background and you can really put that in front of your clients and say that, hey, look, I've been certified.
That's interesting. You don't think about that, like because you had to be quote unquote a professional to earn money. That protected people at the top as far as attorneys who only dealt with professionals, but that also limited somebody who aspired to work with professionals from working with them because all the hedges that are around them. But if we talk about the youth, well, like you said, my nephew, my cousin, somebody in my network, somebody I've coached, I can represent them easier, which helps the small business owner potentially profit.
Yeah. Well, and then there's that big word that's out there that all of us deal with every day, and it's trust.
Yes.
Their meeting they may trust you right away. You may not have to go through the hurdles and the hoops to get them to see who you are as a person.
That's good. I like that.
They trust you.
It's good.
So that's what I'm doing now. And while I was waiting for my license for athletic agency, I started pursuing the entertainment part just to keep me busy, keep me going. Because when I left the Fulton County Public Defender's Office, I really didn't want the day-to-day client, go to court, doing motions and doing that. I've done that for so many years. I kind of wanted to have something that was a little more fun. How about that? Just a little more fun. And so I was able to get some clients. I knew some people. I've gone to their shows, got their cards, and that's part of being an agent. You know, you go to the small shows, you go to the big shows, you go and you put your card out and you let people know what you're doing and how many years you've been doing things. And all of a sudden, I had people calling me, wanting me to see if I could, get a place for them to perform at. And then, luckily enough for me, I went to this new entertainment place in Marietta, Georgia, called The Perfect Note. Met the owner, there's two owners, a husband and wife. Met them, had a great relationship. Went to a lot of shows. Went to about at least a good 10 shows there, because I'm only 15, 20 minutes away, and developed a relationship. And then all of a sudden, I said, "Hey, I've got this, act that I'd like to see if I could, put in your venue." And next thing you know, they gave me 3 dates, and I got 3 acts, and they all sold out. So I'm saying, wow, the entertainment is doing well. Got good contracts. But one of the things, and I know one of the things that we wanted to talk about is what helps in this kind of area.
Yes.
Contract law. You have to be solid. You have to be, very studious about doing contracts. And so I did do very well in law school in contract law, not knowing that I would be doing all these types of contracts. And every day I'm doing a contract. I'm doing a contract with someone. If you're working with someone's manager, they want different things. You're working with different singers. They want a limo with this waiting for them when they get there. You got to put those. Everybody's like, well, that's kind of mine. I said, no, it's major. Then one person says, hey, what kind of snacks are we gonna have? You're starting to understand that what's important to certain people, and as they prepare to perform.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an athlete myself. Athletes are some of the most superstitious people that you're going to run into. I had to put my socks on the right way. If I had 30 points in the game, I want to do everything I did the night before. So I'm remembering, because you want that karma, you want that energy, you want that, to feel like I'm going to do a good job. So in this contract law, I'm looking at be prepared for anything.
So how do you see the entertainment and sports coming together? Because, they call, how Rich Paul approaches it, as far as take a holistic athlete approach, as far as you want them to get the best contract with the sports agency, but there's another side of endorsements, speaking engagements, which kind of falls into the entertainment. So how do you envision the skill set you develop with entertainment law with how you're managing our potential athletes?
I really don't see them different. There's no difference, because your sports person is an entertainer, basically. So it could be just entertainment law as far as I'm concerned, and you'll cover everything. People pay to see this person play, people pay to hear this person perform. It's the same thing. But the thing that with sports that is really good is that whole charisma thing, because now you're looking at, there might be endorsement opportunities for this person. This person has a good smile. This person has a good attitude. They dress a certain way, and entertainers are the same way, but entertainers got that dressing thing down. They got that charisma, but you don't, not always you run into an athlete who's ready for that. I grew up with Magic Johnson. No way he was ready for what happened to him in the NBA. There's no way. I mean, people interviews coming at him, those kinds of things. They had to really take some time with that. You see him now, you say, oh, he's just great. He's awesome. But when you're talking about a 19-year-old who's setting the world on fire. And it takes time to grow into that. And I'm really proud of this guy. This guy, he took it, I grew up across the street. I saw them when they brought him home when he was born.
Yeah.
And to see him manifest into this business tycoon and the way he handled the NBA, it's just, exciting. But not everybody's cut out for that. Not everybody's cut out for that. So, like I said, entertainers kind of have that thing down. But when you become an athlete, and I'm good in playing basketball or football or soccer or whatever you do, sometimes you don't think about the other part that you're going to have to deal with. Caitlin Clark is the greatest example right now. I mean, it's just boom, everybody wants peace, be around her, want to talk about her. Anything she does, is either criticized or people like it or whatever. But when you hear her interviews, she says the right things.
Yes.
And I'm really happy for her because she has not let some of the negative stuff kind of change her personality or hurt her personally. She said, I just want to play basketball.
And I think another example for me, somebody I looked up to as far as an interviewer, is Shannon Sharp, former athlete. Now does interviews, and I don't know if you recently saw this, is releasing a clothing line. So the branches that can come based off athletics can extend far beyond your playing days. Because you mentioned the athlete that you work with, who's now a saxophonist. He saw the future. He's like, this knee has 2 more years. This ankle has a couple more years, and I still want to walk, but I know I can play this instrument for decades.
Yeah, for decades. And like I said, this guy, I want to. It's called Tim the Saxman Cunningham.
Okay,
that was his first, and I still love his first CD. But that vision, is nice. Now there's some of us who get pushed in another direction.
Yeah,
I mean, through athletic injuries, maybe a decision that was made not to play for a team or the contract that was drawn up. And then all of a sudden you find yourself out there going, I got to do something else. They didn't make a decision to do that, but they found that would be in their best interest.
That's true. So let's take it back. So I think a lot of young attorneys go through this issue, one of the issues that you went through, and that is switching states. Practicing, or you received your degree or passed the bar in a certain state. Now you have to move to another state. What was going through your mind during that time? Because I think that's something a lot of attorneys go through or have to decide on.
Yeah, well, moving from the state that you're licensed in is a huge decision. It's a huge decision because that's where you're familiar with the laws. Most of the people who are practicing in that state went to a law school in that state, so the laws are very familiar to them. I had all that, and then I was from that state, so I was well known, and and I had a strong client base and all that kind of stuff. So when you move to another state, one of the things that you have to look at is, do you have reciprocity? Mm-hmm. Now, I wanted to move from Michigan to Nevada. I wanted to go to Las Vegas. I really loved the climate. I'm a golfer. Everybody knows about the Strip, but even outside the Strip, Las Vegas is a very nice city. Mm-hmm. That's why they're getting all these professional teams wanting to come there. Yeah. And so when you make that decision, I was looking at for apartments. And then I was also I spent 2 weeks in Georgia. So I really was saying, okay, do I go to Las Vegas? Do I go to Georgia? Well, the turning point was the fact that if I wanted to get my license to practice law in Georgia, it was just an application process of reciprocity where I didn't have to take the bar exam again. In Nevada, you got to take the bar exam again. And there's certain states, because people really want to move there, and Georgia may be one of those in a minute, that they may not. But if your state already has reciprocity with Georgia, they normally give it back. And so if they accept Georgia's license, if Michigan accepts Georgia's license, Michigan is hoping that the same will happen with Georgia. They'll accept the Michigan license. But you still got those states like Florida.
Yeah.
They say everybody calls Texas, but now Texas is, but California, Nevada, even Arizona, because those are places where people want to, and they just want to, if you want to live here, you're going to have to take the bar exam here.
Like that. So you decided to, leverage reciprocity in Georgia, and you worked at the, the Fulton County Public Defender's Office. But before that, you did a couple things. So somebody moving from another state, what were the jobs you were getting when you first moved here before the Public Defender's Office?
I was getting no jobs. Here's a person, I had 30 years working for government, and at a high level. I was elected official, city council member. I was elected city school board member. I said, I'm going to come down to Georgia and I'm going to get a job in a second, and while I'm waiting to try to get my license here.
Right.
Well, I got here end of October, and by the first of the year, I did not have a job in Georgia. And I was putting in 30 to 40 applications a day. I was on every job site, every county, school districts, whatever. I was just putting in applications. I was thinking, well, maybe I should just move back to Michigan until I can maybe find employment, here. But I came back from Michigan. It was the holidays after the first of the year, and I got into the place I was staying. I was unpacked my bags, got a phone call from the Cobb County School District that asked me if I was interested in working as an after-school specialist. Now, after-school specialist is someone, it's in the, and I like it because it's elementary school, and parents can have their children after school is out at 2:10, at 2:30 to 6 o'clock, they had a program and a place to be so they can pick them up after they get off work. So I thought it was a great program. They paid me $13.50 an hour. And I was like, I was very happy because I've said somebody, one thing about, and that's what I did for my major job for the government. I was a human resources manager, supervisor, director, those kinds of things, that when someone offers you a job, that's pretty exciting. That means that they want you.
Yeah.
You've gone through the interview process, the education process, whatever you have to go through. And it's just nice that somebody wants you. So I took the $13.50 an hour job, working as an after school. And to tell you what, it was a great job. I worked with third graders, helping them, with their homework. We feed them a little snack, help them with their homework, have assignments to help them get better with what they're doing in math and science or whatever. And then that last hour, everybody was in the gym. So we're playing basketball, doing dance stuff and everything. So I was like right there. I'm playing basketball with the kids. I'm helping them with the little dance things that they're doing. I taught them a couple of line dances. They like that.
Probably couldn't wait to recess just like they were.
Yeah. And guess what? Friday was all recess. It was all recess. So you're playing, they had all the games and stuff. And I made up games for them. And I was really, really enjoyed that job. Really did it for a whole semester from January to September.
Yeah. So,
go ahead.
So explain. So you did that. Was there any job before that in the public defender's office?
Yeah, I was getting that. I did that. And then a lady came down when I was getting the snacks out, said, I need you to work during the day. So now I got a job as a assistant teacher, making $150 a day. So, now you go for $13.50. Then months later, you're making $150 a day. And I was like, wow, I'll take it. And I worked the same elementary school. But then I came to find out that the area that she hired me in, there was a lot of need for particularly males in that area. And so I started looking for different jobs after school year was out. And I went to another middle school where I was the in-school suspension teacher. Here I was going to change the world. I was going to take all these kids that were coming to in-school suspension and make it so they'd be great students. It was a challenge.
Yes.
It was a challenge. Had some successes, but I tell you, that was a challenge. That was a challenge. But then they hired me the next year to my best job that I had in the school district was I was an assistant teacher. And sometimes I was provisionally certified to teach certain subjects. That means I was actually a teacher. And social studies was one of those. And as an attorney, you like history, you like doing those kinds of things. And so, but even though my strong suit is math, And so I became the 6th and 7th and 8th grade assistant teacher in the autism unit. And this was the highly functioning autistic kids.
Okay.
I mean, I'm talking about, I taught social studies to a young man. He was like, sixth grader. Mm-hmm. And then his elective was art, taking the art class. Do you know he drew from memory the whole United States and even outlined all the states?
Wow.
Unbelievable. I mean, that's how amazing some of these kids were. So I was really, and the difference between the in-school suspension job and the autistic job was the fact that these kids wanted to come to school. I mean, you get a kid that wants to come to school, who's in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and do what the things that are necessary. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. It was amazing. So I had that job. Then along came COVID. I mean, I had students that started with 6th grade, taught them 7th grade. I was in the 8th grade year, and COVID came along. And at that time, didn't feel it was safe. And I'm in my 60s. We didn't know enough about COVID. I was not going back to the school district. Not right then. And so I resigned. They gave me an option of, because we were teaching from home, but they said, now we're going back to school. This was October 2020. Now, COVID started March of 2020, no vaccinations until 2021, but yet they wanted us to go back to school. And my doctor was like, no. So at that point, not that I was physically, and I was ill or anything, it's just that they just didn't know enough about it. And it was affecting older people, even though I like to pull off, I'm 45, but so I went ahead and pursued my license down here in Georgia. Now, it was critical that I started then because I had already opened my application up in 2018. In Georgia, if you don't finish your application process in 2 years, you can never apply again. Mm-hmm. I was 1.5 months away from never being able to apply again. And so I said, oh, I got to get busy. So I got busy. The first part of May, I had to June 24th, and I was able to get my application in by the end of May.
Now, I do have a personal gripe because you taught social studies. How come the schools don't focus on Georgia civics? They do a little federal, but they don't talk about the different positions. I think that kind of leads into what you did even before you came to Georgia, the different roles, the judges, the clerkships, the council members. Like, how come students aren't taught that information? Because I think that's important for the day-to-day lives.
Yeah, and that's, boy, that's a strong point for me, is that I taught state local government in law school. That's the area I taught in law school. And for that particular reason, people need to know the structure of society. Yes. And I didn't know how important American government, I thought it was just a necessary evil. I mean, it was important, but knowing what the difference between a state court judge and not a circuit court is Michigan, but a superior court judge, a court of appeals, and the Supreme Court, knowing the difference between having a mayor versus a governor versus a president, which is the executive branch, and then also the legislative branch, where it really gets confusing when you have your township people, you have your city council members, you have your state reps, and you have all the Congress people and your U.S. senators. Those are the people who make the laws. And see, that's needed because then people can know what's the importance of each one of those, areas. That's the checks and balances. One's the executive branch, one's the legislative branch, and one's the judicial branch. So if somebody makes the laws, another one executes the laws, and if you break the laws, then the judges get out. So that's the great thing about social studies. But one thing I do like about Georgia is 8th grade social studies is about the whole structure of the state of Georgia.
Georgia history.
So when you're talking about, just regular social studies, whatever they teach you, the general stuff they teach you, then Georgia actually teaches what is Georgia. Mm-hmm. How do we fit into that whole thing? Yeah. So, but you're right. More of that should be done. I mean, that should be emphasized. There should be more than one class. It should be. See, that's what they do. They try to make American government and social. They make it one class. No, it should be some. It should be spread out, because right now, I think people even more so now realize that elections are very, very important. And when I went to my polling places last time, I was so happy to see so many young African-American males voting. I mean, I talked to every one of them. I mean, I was just that excited, because when I was running for office, you really didn't get that kind of response. But now you're getting that response, and I'm excited about that for this country.
That's good. I like that. I like that a lot. So sorry I interrupted you. After time.
Yeah. But so then I did that. I did that with them, and so I left, got my license, went out on my own here in Georgia. But what was nice, by opening up a law practice in Georgia after I got licensed in Georgia, I was getting Michigan clients back. Because of the COVID, there was a lot of virtual court going on. Yeah. So my practice was pretty much 50-50 Michigan and Georgia. Wow. And the reason for that was because Georgia was tough. I mean, the language was different. The laws are different. See, a lot of people think a law in Michigan, I mean, it's a lot different. I mean, the process, the procedures, the whole thing. And so I didn't know enough about that. I really didn't. I mean, I was doing better in Michigan than I was in Georgia. So I dusted off my Indeed application and sent it out there and got a lot of good feedback. Mm-hmm. I was hired by 2 law firms. I got offers, not hired, but offers from 2 law firms that I turned down because I just wasn't ready. I had worked for a law firm in Michigan, and it just, there was, even though you had great perks and a lot of help and stuff, it just wasn't comfortable. I lasted about 2 years in the law firm. So I didn't know if I wanted to pursue that. I think I was at that government background. So Fulton County called, and I interviewed with the juvenile division in Fulton County. And after 2 minutes of talking to me, the lady said, stop. And she brought 2 other supervisors in, one from Superior Court, one from State Court. And they said, this guy has a background that we probably need to have everybody involved in. And so then at the end of the day, I interviewed with them, and they asked me, where do you want to work?
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that was a great, question. Because knowing enough about the law and what Charles Ford wanted to do, I chose State Court. And that was dealing with misdemeanors. I figured they wanted me superior because I've already done major cases and stuff, but I definitely thought I needed to kind of ease into the criminal area. So I was representing nothing but people who committed misdemeanors.
What type of qualifications does you feel like somebody needs to have to be successful in that role?
In the role in that job?
Yes.
You cannot procrastinate. If you're the kind of person that wants to do it tomorrow, you can forget it in the public defender's office. You got so many cases coming at you at once. I've had between 170, 200 clients as a public defender. But my first job was in the jail division. And I don't know if you want me to talk a little bit about that, but the jail division was, I would go in and I would get offers from the prosecutor, which is called a solicitor, because misdemeanor and felonies are separate in Georgia. In Michigan, the county prosecutor handles both the misdemeanors and the felony cases. But in Georgia, you have a solicitor handles misdemeanor cases. Then you have a district attorney that handles the felony cases. So I was dealing with the solicitor, and they would give me offers. These people are people who saw the judge for the first time, got a bond or didn't get a bond, still in jail. I would go in with the offer and say, hey, this is the offer. Do you want to take it, or do you want to move on to trial? And I would average anywhere from 15 to maybe 25 people I had to interview for one court case, for one docket. And it happened every Tuesday, it happened every Thursday. Now, the Tuesday docket was never that bad because if I got offers on Friday, I'd work on the weekends. I would go in and see people on the weekend. I had Monday, and then I could be prepared for court. But when Thursday came, you were done with Tuesday, and then if you didn't get offers until Wednesday, you had one day to interview 20 people. So I'll be up to 12. Sometimes I'll be out at the jails at 1, 2 in the morning, interviewing clients just so I could be prepared, because some of them, they had offers to get out of jail. So you don't want to miss anybody because that person might have an offer that they could get out of jail that day. And so that was important for us. So I stayed up. There was a lot of days during that job that I just never went to bed.
So you spent time in the school system, spent time, dealing with individuals who was incarcerated. What do you have to say as far as culturally, like what needs to be improved to help the youth out? Because you got to see it from both sides. They say the prison pipeline, you were in the school, you're also in prison. So you see the pipeline. What do you think culturally needs to improve to help our youth and young people out?
Preschool.
What school?
Preschool.
Preschool, gotcha. Why do you say that? Because
they determine prison populations and prison needs by third grade. By third grade. They're looking at test scores and abilities, and they're determining how, because at that point, when you have a situation where only 50% of your African-American males are graduated from high school,
yeah,
come on, we got to go way back. Everybody say middle school. You show up in middle school, if you don't have the math, science, English, they're not teaching that again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can tell you the difference between Michigan and Georgia is the age of when you can not have to go to school. Georgia is 16, Michigan is 18. Now, think about that for a minute. You have to at least be in school until you're 18 or you're truant, right? Georgia is 16.
Wow.
I had students that said, I can't wait till I'm 16, I don't have to go to school. So you have to have very good preschool. I mean, students have to understand that math and science are the cornerstones of being successful. Do you know, when I was a counselor in high school, and I did that before I came here, I was a counselor in high school, they determined success after high school by two things: math scores and extracurricular activity.
Do you know why?
Yeah, I do. I mean, because math is the cornerstone to everything we do. I mean, you just can't get around, can't get away from it. When I wanted to be a certified teacher in Georgia, I had to take the GACE test: math, reading, and writing. So a person who has good math scores, they're probably going to have good reading skills as well. Interpretation skills. Math teaches you how to compartmentalize, and that's why I got through law school so well. I could put stuff here, then put stuff there, and then when it was time to bring it together, I could do that. Yes. Math is the same way. Extracurricular activity, it's that whole social thing about how to basketball taught me not to quit, never to give up, the dedication, the discipline, all those things helped me. And I didn't like to lose either. So that spilled over into the classroom. So even as you in your business, you want to be the best. And when you win a game, you want to be the best. You want to be better than and that gives you that drive. And math gives you the understanding that you're very confident in how to compartmentalize, how to separate things, how to deal with it. Now there's some people who have to get some help with the reading and get some help with that, but I think you can learn that. I think you can. It's like learning another language. You can learn that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But math, if you miss it in third grade, how to add and subtract, calculus is out of the question. Geometry, out of the question. The required course of algebra is out of the question. So you can't even graduate without algebra, at least one semester. So So that's what's the success, and we can measure that by extracurricular activity and how people are doing the math.
Gotcha. So you would recommend more extracurricular activities and
Mhm.
more of a focus early on math competency.
Yeah.
Because if you fall behind for that, I guess the internal, like, hey, I'm not that smart, or all those things that go through folks' head, it really eats at them. And by the time they turn 16, they may have to come see you
Yeah.
in prison.
Yeah. See, because I had preschool accidentally. My mother was a teacher who could never get a job as a teacher in the North because she was from an HBCU, Alabama A&M. So they wouldn't give her a full-time job. But so she practiced her skills on me, and I was receptive to it. My father, who had a 6th grade education, but he could add and subtract everything, right? So she worked days, he worked nights. So when I was with him during the day, he gave me math problems to do. I didn't draw. So when I got to kindergarten, I was very competent, with adding and subtracting. So 1st grade, I was good at that. So when the math started coming, division and multiplication, I was ready. So if I could just go by my past experience, and then my children were 3.7, 3.8 students, and they were both full scholarship Division I athletes too. That was what I wanted them to be. So that's the learning tool. So if I can pass on any of that, and stay with your kids, man, you got to stay with them until they get out of high school. You got to be with them, know where they're at, know what, who their friends are. They're not going to like it, but they'll like it afterwards. Because even though you're teaching them the right things, some of they may say, well, my dad, he's too soft. These other kids are doing these kinds of things over. I want to do that. So keep your kids with you. But that's what we need. That preschool, that right before they go to school, is a really pivotal time in a young person's life.
I like that a lot. So you're in the public defender's office, but for some reason, you didn't want to be there the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. What was that reason that made you look at other opportunities?
I think everything I do has about a 2-year shelf life. After about 2 years, I was ready to move on and do something else. I mean, I've learned how to do stuff in Georgia. I've won trials, so I knew how to try cases. I knew how to do things. I was just not starting. I mean, the excitement for 2 years was unbelievable. I was there every day. I mean, I still was there. I mean, there, dress, suit every day. I couldn't wait to get to work. But that was during COVID, where we weren't going anywhere anyway. Yeah. And I'm more of an active person, travel, do a lot of different things. And so, and I didn't take my first plane ride to 2023, April of 2023, after COVID. 2019, I went to London, September. Then now my next plane ride's not till April of 2023. So I'm sitting at the home, I had a nice home office and things. And I just did not want to be that guy doing day-to-day work. I've always been a private, get this, 35 years as an attorney. I've had 2 years with a law firm, mm-hmm. and 2 years and 8 months with the public defender's office. Mm-hmm. Less than 5 years of my career has been working for someone in the law. So I'm more comfortable on my own because I am disciplined. I get up in the morning. I say I got to have these things done. I do them, all those kinds. So I don't need a supervisor. Mm. And that's what I had there. I had supervisors that wanted things done. I had a supervisor after I'd won a couple of trials in the public defender's office. They moved me to another person, and they were they were like, "Oh, I want to see your cross-examination questions. I got 170 clients. I got 8, 9 cases that may go to trial, and you want me to, give you, no, I'm not doing that. Mm. I am skilled enough that when it's time to go to trial, I will match my cross-examination skills with anybody." So I was ready to leave last year but then they moved me back to another person that I had that first hired me, that I first worked for, and he said, "I need you to stay for another year." And so I agreed to stay because I could do jail and I could do all the three parts. I could do bond hearings, I could do the SAP, which is the people that were in jail. Then I could also I was a trial attorney. So they had all three when they had me. If they needed somebody for something, they called Charles. And then I trained a lot of the younger attorneys. The first thing my boss would say, hey, Charles, will you please show them your process? Because I had a process for everything. That was another thing. That's what my math did for me. I had a process for everything. Even when we got new clients, I had a process. Even when I went to the jail, I had a process. Trials, I have a process. And so that's why. So I decided to go ahead and stay another year with the public defender's office. And I didn't quite make it because my boss, the one that wanted me to stay, I was doing some work from home, and he called me up Tuesday before Thanksgiving. He's a fraternity brother too, so we had a close bond, and I thought he was one of the best supervisors that I ever had. And he said, "Well, happy Thanksgiving," and all that kind of good stuff. So then I get a call Sunday morning that he passed away. Sunday after Thanksgiving, yeah. So I had a car accident, and I was working from home. Then I was going to go at FMLA for a while just to make sure I did all the things the doctor told me to do, and I feel great. I shot 86 from the Blues yesterday, so so I'm great. So and he passed away, and so I had till February to come back to work, and I even cut that short. I would last until January 30th. I decided I was going to leave. So the decision, the NIL stuff that passed in October 2023 made my decision, helped me make my decision. And just wanting to travel. I went back home I went back to Michigan 4 times in 2023, traveling and seeing my family and doing some things in Michigan. So I said, you know what? I need to have my own schedule.
So, I know you probably had your business already set up, but for somebody who wants to start their practice in the state of Georgia, what are the practical steps you recommend they take to help set them up for success?
Well, that's a great question, because I used to do that in Michigan. We had the Lansing Black Lawyers, and one of the things I did is help solo practitioners set up their own, start their practice. What things can I do? What do I need? Now, what's made it so much easier now, like I have 2 paralegals that work for me, and I have a legal assistant, an intern, but you don't need office space anymore. My paralegals, I send them out what I need for them. One of them files paperwork for me, the other one does contracts for me. So you just send them what you need, and then they send it back to you. It's almost like they're working next door, anyway. And if we need to really talk face to face, we can do exactly what you and I are doing right now. But one of the things that you need them to do is to make sure that they measure and monitor expenses and receipts.
Okay.
So if you're not willing to do that every day, forget it. You can't come back and say, "Oh, I've done 10 things," and then also to measure your own hours. Now, I talked to them about 2 things too. That is, you want to practice in the areas that you're good at. And it's easy to measure that. I'm good at criminal law, hands down. I can do criminal law with no problem. Okay. And the things that you like. I like family law. I like divorce work. I like doing probate stuff. I like doing child custody, because I think I have a kind of a working for the government, kind of a service, and I like to talk to people and get them to understand the benefits of certain things. Okay. So that's the advice I would give to people. If you're going to go out on your own, don't just take everything.
Yeah.
Don't take everything. Find out. Now, you might end up doing everything, because once you get good and get your practice going, you might want to slip off into something else. But at the beginning, the things that you're good at, the things that you like, those are the key fundamentals of having your own practice.
So what about profitability for somebody who wants to start their own practice? There's certain practice areas that pay more than others. If you're doing a simplified will, that's not going to pay as much as maybe a real estate transaction, possibly. So what areas do you feel like, bring in good money for somebody going out independently? Because I think it's different from a large firm structure versus an independent. Which one brings in most money?
Well, as you mentioned, I learned how to do divorces real well, right? I was good at divorces. When I was a young attorney, it was really funny. I wouldn't do a divorce unless two things: that you had gone to counseling and you really were going to go through a divorce, or you've been separated for 6 months to a year. Those people need to be divorced, right? That all went away when the kinds of money you can make during a divorce. I said, if people don't want to be together, I'm cool with that. I'll just take that, because those are cases that people actually have to pay you to do. Yes. I mean, if the person wants a divorce, I want $5,000 up front, and then we charge you $350 an hour. I can do these kinds of things. They're going to pay. You can send them a bill every month. And that's another thing I've been meant to talk about. The other bill people. Make sure you send people a bill, because people aren't going to pay unless you send them a bill. You send them a bill, they'll pay. Well, you know that. You probably understand that. And so that's what you got to learn how to do. It's not a best part of our job, but I send out letters. Hey, Hey, we've done many hours this week and this month or whatever, and your bill now is X amount of dollars.
That's something that only business owners have to deal with, is sending an invoice and hoping that it gets paid. It's not always guaranteed. So what have you found? Is it, hey, I charging up an upfront free retainer so it covers 90% of that? Or is it, I only work with people who are
Keep that question, because I do want to finish up with telling you about the profitability of certain areas, okay? Okay. Because I want to tell you that divorce is there, especially if a person has been served. That person has to pay, because if you don't, the other person will get everything they want, right? I don't do plaintiff's lawsuits. Now, I'm not big enough for that. I don't want to cover. Plaintiff's lawsuits are people who do personal injury. You get injured, you go to an attorney, they give you a contingency agreement that says that I get 30% if we win, 33%. Well, you got to fund that case and then after you fund it, you may not win. So smaller businesses, I would be very gun shy about, in this day and age, with plaintiffs' lawsuits. Because personal injury is not looked at as it was. When I first got started, I did a lot of personal injury. You know why? Because you send a person a letter saying, my person got hurt on your property, we'll take $50,000 and you might get $35,000. Now they pay attorneys, and I was doing a lot of that in Michigan. They pay attorneys to make you jump through all the hoops.
Wow.
Yeah. Send you depositions, send you interrogatories, do all the stuff to make this thing just drag out. Insurance companies are doing that today. You get hit by someone that the insurance should just pay you X amount of dollars. That person at fault, they will lowball you and not send you anything. Matter of fact, insurance companies were hiring a lot of people from the public defender's office, because they'd rather defend themselves than pay large settlements.
Now, what about there's car accident side, but there's also companies that, let's say a slip and fall. Is there money in that, or do you say, hey, divorce?
Same thing. All that stuff is plaintiffs' lawsuits.
Okay.
And I don't do plaintiffs' lawsuits. I'm a defense attorney. Now, if you come to me because someone's filed suit against you for something like that, I'm the guy. Because I'll send out interrogatories, I'll send out depositions. Because you know what? They're going to have to pay me $5,000-$6,000 up front, and plus pay my hourly. And then that's why you have to keep track of your hourly, because once that $5,000 is used up, then I start billing you.
Yeah.
So at this point, my practice is mostly strictly defense. because people will have to pay you to defend them.
Yeah.
And so you get that, and divorce is always good, but defense divorce is great work, because the plaintiff person has to do all the motions and push the case, because if they don't do anything, then it goes away.
So how are you finding these folks? Like, of course, if somebody said, hey, I'm divorcing Randall, I need somebody to represent me and my interests and my assets. But how do I know to call an individual like yourself? How can I call attorney Charles Ford? Why am I calling Charles Ford versus somebody else?
Well, and you've probably seen me at different functions, and people kind of understand why I'm the guy that talks to people. I take pictures of people. I'm the guy. If you look at my social media, I'm a promoter of myself right there. Everybody asks, why do you take all the pictures and stuff? Because people like that. Then they're seeing attorney Charles Ford. I put up a billboard as soon as I got licensed. Big, nice, electronic billboard. Attorney Charles, got a good picture, nice blue colors, because I'm a Sigma, so we got nice blue colors and blue and white, And I have thousands. I have business cards. My goal is to, at any event, to pass out 10, 12, 13 business cards. If I haven't passed out 500 business cards by the end of the month, I haven't done my job.
Wow.
That's the only way that attorneys could really even advertise, was business cards. So I'm old school. I mean, I have a web page. Some people go to it, some people don't, but they see me. I try to have the personality, and I meet and I go to event after event. I go any place, and that's part of my job of advertising.
I don't think the average attorney thinks about that aspect, as far as I have to sell myself. Yeah. I can't just be a good practitioner. I have to actually create demand, have people trust me and become familiar with me. Speak a little bit on that journey. As for you yourself, was it natural for you? And also, when you talk to younger attorneys, like, how do you get them in that mindset to promote themselves? Well,
I've been trained to present and promote myself for years. I was always like captain of the basketball team, captain of the teams. I was always a student senator. I was always, even in law school, I was student senator, president of the Black Law Students Association. So that's kind of a natural thing. I want to be not leading just to be leading, but leading so I feel I can bring people along as well. And so I was always a good teammate. Because I wanted other people to do well as well. And I've been elected official. I was 34 years old, and I won my first time I ever ran. I ran for city council, and I was only the second African American elected city council. The first one was elected in '66, when you could vote for 3 or 4 people, right? I was in '89, when you only have to vote for me or the other person, and the other person was a white male, and I beat him by a landslide. Wow. Because I had a lot of stuff to present. I said experience counts. I mean, I was a sports star. I was I say star because people call me that, because I've been inducted into the Hall of Fame, which is, that was really special to me, because I'm in the same Hall of Fame with Magic Johnson and John Smoltz. And I just talked to John Smoltz and Matt the other day, because John Smoltz he has his strikeout baseball thing. I was the attorney that did some of the contracting for that back in Michigan. But so I was always in that position, and I like going out to event, and I like meeting different people. Just like I didn't know when I found out you were Randy's son, Avery, your father. I was like, I see him at all the stepping events, and I'm just now knowing that he's Randy's son. I was like, man, I missed that. And then so you and I had a chance to talk a little bit. And I appreciate learning a little bit more about you. And I think you had a book out or something. Don't you have a book out? And I think I bought that. I read, The Financial. Yeah. I'm doing advertising for you now. You should read it, because I found some good points out in there. So, so that's kind of natural to me. I really want to meet. I'm a person who grew up thinking that he was not a good looking guy. Not that I'm great looking now, but I think I'm better looking than I thought, And then I had a bad stuttering problem.
Mm.
I mean, I was afraid to talk to people.
Wow.
And I had, lucky enough, my mother and the teacher, they finally said, you got to read books out loud. So I read book after book out loud during the summer. So I didn't let the summer go and do nothing. I was reading books. And then I finally got a chance. I read one book. I said, now I can read 2 books this summer, and 3 books and 4 self-help books, people who were millionaires, people who were downtrodden. So I think that all shaped me to be an attorney. Mm-hmm. At a young age, starting to do that. So I like to talk because at one point I was afraid to do that. And I like to take pictures because at one point I didn't take pictures, and I like to promote what I do. So I think Buddha said it best. I think, Buddha, he said, we're a conglomeration of everybody and everything we meet. Hmm. So that's what I am. I mean, I've met great people. I've met people who have bad times. I've met people who are doing well. I've had people who I saw not as good before, but now they're great, And so when you get a chance to experience that, you learn from experience. I mean, I was met with a life-threatening illness. I didn't think I was going to be here at 69, And so when you go to Mayo Clinic, you go to Cleveland Clinic, you go to those places and you see people who are just, got 6 months to live and all that, you have life, and so you got to go out and meet people. I mean, I want to promote Attorney Charles Ford because not so much so I can say I'm an attorney. I feel I can help you. One of my lines is, it does you no good to know an attorney and don't call them. A lot of times people who know me call me 6 or 7 months after they should have called me. They should have called me 6 months ago. Yeah. But then they go, well, Charles, I know you, and I didn't want you to know. I says, we're confidential employees. You tell me something, I'll never talk to anybody. I don't talk to people like that. I talk about fun stuff, but I'm not going to talk about your stuff. And so that's over years. You just got to develop that type of sense of attitude and wanting to help people. And if people can see that in you, it'll probably be your client.
So one of my missions of doing this, Practice Prosperity, is to help practices grow. Mm-hmm. What have you seen help practices reach a size in which when the founder steps down, it potentially could go on after them? So what steps have you seen practices do so that the practice can live beyond the owner?
Oh, mentorship to the nth degree. The law firm I worked for was called the Abood Law Firm. Mm-hmm. Now, when I first heard of this law firm, it was called Abood and Ream. Now, Fred Abood and Camille Abood were 2 Lebanese lawyers. They were Lebanese, couldn't get a job because Lebanese almost looks kind of black. They couldn't get a job in Lansing, Michigan, so they started their own law firm, and then they hired the guy named Ream, and they were Abood and Ream, and then they became one of the biggest law firms in the area, well-known law firm. Matter of fact, that when the governor went through a divorce, they represented the wife. That's how. But Fred Abood was a great guy. He had 10 kids. 7 of them are attorneys, and that's the Aboods I worked with. I worked with Fred. He was the managing. He was a partner, owner, whatever he was. But I worked with 3 of 4 of his children. 3 of them went to law school with me, and another one I didn't go to law school with, but he went to the same law. He was after us. And they were the best attorneys I've ever met. Wow. I mean, the best attorneys that I've ever met. I mean, Andrew Abood, he's got this little Al Pacino thing going on for him, but he and I did our first murder case, and in 6 days we got not guilty. I mean, he's just a great attorney. But, I talked to him about, man, why'd you want to be man? I said, I worked in my dad's law practice when I was in middle school. high school, elementary, then I'm working there when I'm going to law school and everything. And then when he got his license, I mean, it was just, and Fred Abboud passed away when I was working there.
Yeah.
But Andrew Abboud and Joe Abboud were two of the best attorneys I've ever met. Mentorship. They saw how their father did it. They would hire 5 or 6 attorneys, have 40 other people working there. I mean, when I was an attorney there, I had about 10, 12 people. I do the intake on a case. I wouldn't see that case again until I went to trial, to court rather, because they did all the other work. And people said, "Well, how much money?" I said, I was a $25,000 to $40,000 a month attorney for them back in 2003 and 2004. That's when I realized I can go on my own. I was making a lot of money for the firm. So that's kind of tells you what you need to continue. Just like you, if you want your business, you got to have someone that you're mentoring to. If that business is going to grow into the future, only way is to have somebody that's there. I have 4 attorneys that all passed the bar. They did internships with me. All of them, I sent them to the prosecutor's office. They all got jobs working for the prosecutor after they left me. I showed you how to be a defense attorney. Now you need to learn the other side.
Yeah. So
that's mentoring. So then one of them, I said, you should run for office. And now he's got the city council seat that I had. And he's calling me, said, Charles, I really need what should I do to do this? I'm telling him how, because I've experienced being on the city council. I spent 4 years on the city council and almost 7 years on the school board. I left the school board to come down here. So you got to mentor people. That's the only way, and that goes for businesses and big conglomerates. Most of the successful businesses are family owned. You know that. I don't have to tell you that. It's in your book. It's family owned. So, because that means that they're mentoring the next group of people. Then that group is going to mentor the next group. So, if you want to sustain, I really wanted one of my kids to really want to be an attorney. Mm-hmm. It didn't happen. But they got full ride scholars, football, basketball. That's cool. But I think the problem with them was they saw me go through law school when they were young, and they were like, "I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that." But and not to be, we got to do more of it in the Black community. I'm telling you that right now.
So that's one of the things I'm touching on with this work here is what I see is around 55, 60 individuals in our community just kind of bow out of the working field. And you can bow out, but I still think there is that obligation to mentor within your profession, not just social mentor, how to eat etiquette and stuff like that and the stuff like that, but really mentor within the profession, that next generation. You work in the STEP community a little bit. Like, what's happening to somebody in their 50s and 60s that they bow out without, I feel like, doing that obligatory mentorship?
Well, because they never, a lot of people feel I did this on my own, and everything, not realize that somebody helped you along the way. And so people, they get to that point. We live in a real selfish community. Society, not community, society. Right, it's real selfish, Right. And people are getting, the 55 is probably the new 40. Like 70 is the new 50. I'm just saying. And people want to do fun stuff. Mm-hmm. They want to travel. The cruise industry has everybody locked in. Resort industry has everybody locked in, and that's what it is. So, but a lot of us, it's not our fault. We grew up in that combined benefit program. That is that we worked. We did our 30 years, and then you're paying me for not working.
Correct. So
I don't have to worry about if other people can make it. I can make it on my own if I do nothing. So there's a few people out there that says, hey, we got to do more than just live off our pension and live off our Social Security. There's some other stuff. I'm gonna tell you who does that the best, though. Athletic coaches.
Yes.
They don't seem to go anywhere. People are, their players, their assistant coaches, they're coming to them all the time. How did you deal with that player? I got a player that he's really, really good, but he doesn't know how to blend the whole team in and everything. Coaches say, sit him on the bench. I mean, I was a coach 20 years. I sit a kid on the bench, boy, he'd become the best player in the world. He could be my best player. Family come to this game, he's sitting on the bench. My kid's not starting? He's your best player. No, my best player is who can make this team better. Your son's not doing that. Yeah, I'm gonna need him every now and then to come in, make some shots for me, doing that thing. But see those guys out there, they're working together. It might not even be true because I need that guy. Him out there, but I gotta somehow establish a relationship that would help that person grow into the future. That's why I took the freshman coaching job at my high school. I was a varsity coach at another high school, but my high school had all this talent, but I didn't see it being developed. So I took the freshman job. So I wasn't measured on winning and losing. I was measured on preparing that person for the next level. And that varsity coach said, man, when that guy was playing for you, I thought he'd go into the JV. He's ready for the varsity. Because I was a very disciplined coach.
So it sounds like two things. It's the lack of passion, like that sports naturally breeds. Right. And then the second thing is selfishness. It's like you can't see outside of your monthly cruise trip, your trip to the Hilton every other month, that there's nothing in life beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta, but I said, teachers are like that too. Teachers will go back and substitute teach, and then the assistant teachers or an intern that was under them will call them up and say, man, I really need, how did you handle this subject and things. But those are kind of natural. Coaches and teachers are kind of natural to that. But that's why that extracurricular activity thing kind of works in business as well.
So when you own your own practice, so if you work for a large company, you get a 401k. You work for the government, you can sometimes receive a pension. But when you're out on your own, having your practice, like, how do you advise folks to plan for retirement? Because eventually you won't be able to practice. So you need to have money set away, especially if your business doesn't have equity or lives beyond yourself.
Yeah, you and I talked about this a little bit, in our pre-interview. And it's that the whole 401k, deferring money is the key to all of this. You can make you can get $1,000 to say, if you're a lawyer, some of it's going to go to taxes, but then a piece of it should go for retirement. The other piece you can live off of. So you have to really be pretty specific about that. What helped me out when I worked for the government, we had a combined benefit program, and we didn't have a combined contribution. You just, they matched you. When you retired, you got your monthly, and that was it. But then they came up with the combined contribution, and people could move over into that, take their whole pension, whatever they had, move it into. Or you could just start up a new 401k. Well, I chose to keep the combined benefit and do the 401k, in which I keep all of that. So as an attorney, you have a place to dump money. And I did that with Fulton County. I didn't take all of my salary. I dumped the money in there. So when I left, I had money. But a lot of people think they got to spend all the money that they make. Don't do that. Don't do that, especially in this day and age, because you don't have combined benefit anymore. I mean, I'm getting a pension. I'm getting paid, for not working if I didn't work. But that's not what I'm going to live off. I'm going to live off the money I make now. So I think, take full advantage of 401ks, deferrals, just deferrals in themselves.
But if you're self-employed, it's not an option.
Yeah, it is. It is. You can do IRAs. You can do a bunch of stuff. You can do there's options. You go to banks. You can defer money.
Gotcha. Understood.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the main thing for self-employed people, is to set up something that you can defer money into. That was one of my big deals that it was either positive and negative for me. the players found it to be negative, but at the end of the day, it was positive, that I would have them defer more than half of their millions. Like I had one client defer almost $6 million. He had $6 million contract. So this is about your last contract. So let's defer half of it, put it somewhere until you can't touch till you're 35. So you're late 20s now, third contract, may not get another one. And then he's got an accountant with him because he decided not to have an agent. He wanted an attorney, which I was his attorney. He had a CPA that was there. CPA said, we can take all that money, we can get businesses. And you know how they think about making money grow and stuff. I said, forget that. I said, let's take $3 million deferred. Let's defer it. And they had programs that you could do it. They said, you take defer till you're 35. And he goes, so we had till midnight to sign the contract. So at 11:30, he decides to call me and says, hey, I'm going to take your program. I said, good. So he deferred. Next thing you know, the next minute after he signed, oh, you're the worst attorney. You're the worst attorney. I can't touch that money until I'm 35. Don't realize this. You're going to turn 35 if you keep living, right?
Correct.
Well, take the $3 million, do what you want with it, and everything. And so doesn't call me for years. We were good friends from my neighborhood. Good friends. All of a sudden, he used to call me 11 o'clock at night. Never forget. I get a call at 11 o'clock at night. And it was him. I was like, hey, good to hear from you and everything. I just got a letter from the bank that says I'm going to get $12,000 a month for the next 20 years because of the deferral program, And he says, but they asked me, did I want to take it all or defer half of it? I said, defer half of it. Just take just take $8,000 a month, because he was starting to coach in the NBA, coach overseas and stuff. So, defer. So, because when you turn 50, you don't want to work. You don't want to have to work. Have your money working for you. And so that was a happy ending, that was a happy to a bad start, so, but you can't, if you're in a private, if it's your money, don't you get used to it being your money, I think something I might have read in your book, something talked about pay yourself first, pay yourself, then use the rest of the money to do everything else. So that way you're putting money somewhere. So in your business, I think that's something you got to clients got to understand that if you're in your private business, you're going to continue to live. You got to have some money put away for some things. And places where it can grow, not just places it's just sitting there. It's got to be some place where it can grow.
I like that a lot. So what's next for you? So how do you see your firm growing, let's say in the next 5 years? Like what does it look like? What type of clients are you serving?
Yeah, I want to find a client that's going to win a Grammy. I want to find somebody in the movies that's going to get an Oscar. I really feel that I have enough connections and I have enough talented people that I want to get to the next level. I mean, it's always the next level. Even though I'll be 70 this year, I still think I got a lot to offer. I got a lot of things I want to still do. I just want to get to the next level. I left high school after being president of classes and captain stuff. I wanted to be president of the United States.
Nice.
But I wanted to be a movie star first. I wanted to be a movie star. I saw a person, I want to be a good athlete, make that, then go into the movies, then become president. I had it all strategized out. I was gonna make it to the NBA. I was gonna then make movies afterwards, maybe even become an announcer, or something of that nature. And then I wanted to run for a major office after being elected, city council, and a lot of different things. It feels good to be on the ballot and people vote for you.
Yeah.
Then even after that, it's nice to win.
Yeah.
And so I'm still trying to be a judge. I'm not going to be running for office anymore because it's just a money drain. I left $27,000 in Michigan in my campaign accounts because I closed them all out and I cannot raise any money to pay myself back. So it costs money. I raised $30,000 to run for judge here in Georgia, and my opponent had $180,000. So I'm not willing to put forth my money to do that, but I still want to serve in that capacity. So I've been just lobbying people to see if maybe when an appointment comes up, I may be able to get one.
Nice.
And I was going to run for mayor of Mableton. Had a good opportunity, but I didn't see that as nothing but a money drain because there was people been around longer than I have, and so at some point you got to come to the realization that that probably isn't your path unless you get appointed. So then I'm in the sports entertainment. The sports led into the fact that my entertainment part is going really well. And but now the sports part, I'm starting to talk to my clients again because I'm an agent now. And so to see how that works. But I just, maybe one of my clients making it to the NBA or the NFL, I still want to see that happen. Still want to see that happen. Still want to be a judge, want to see that happen. And any other elected position that I could probably do some good in.
Okay. So if a talent or a parent who has a young athlete wants to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Just call me. Call me right now. 517-281-9716. Really email me. Charles, C. Ford Law at attorneycharlesford.com. If you don't want to just go to attorneycharlesford.com, go to my website, leave me a message, anything. Talk to Randy. Randy put you in contact with me, it's just that easy. It's just that easy. Working for the Pistons for 15 years I have some really good contacts. Some of the people I work with are working for Adidas and Nike and New Balance. So I'm really fortunate to have some people that I know who are working in areas that could possibly, help one of my athletes.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Attorney Charles Ford. You dropped a lot of nuggets, a lot of things you should think about. I think, people don't think about divorce law right out of law school, but if they want to make money, that could be something for them to think about.
Yeah, especially with the numbers. And then the baby boomers, they've been married for 30, 35 years and they've blown apart, I'm not advocating that. I love marriage. Marriage is something I think is a great thing. That's another reason I want to be a judge and want to be a mayor. I want to marry people. I want to bring relationships together, but yeah, divorce law is very profitable. Criminal law, just to give you a second, is not as profitable as it used to be. Because people aren't paying, they're not putting their houses up for, mortgage and all that, they're not doing that to help people get out of jail. The bonds, they're not paying bonds like they used to. So, and so attorneys, most people are going to the public defender's office. That's why it's so big right now, because they're paying public defenders way more than they used to. When I first came out of law school, public defender make $13,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah. No money, and have all the cases. Now, public defenders are making over 100,000.
Yeah,
almost right out of law school.
Yeah.
So things have just changed. But you can find a niche. People can find their niche. Call me. I can help you find that niche.
Yeah, if you're looking for a mentor, somebody to grow a firm with or join, definitely reach out to Attorney Charles Ford. So thank you for your time.
All right.
And we loved what you shared, and hopefully you'll be on again and share as your journey goes along.
Yeah, and keep doing what you're doing too. People appreciate that.
All right, thanks a lot. Take care.
All right, you too.
The more I know, the more money I can make.